aren't we taught about this in school? Why isn't there a class that helps you understand all of this?
I would say when I was in school, I saw the research that said the latest research takes 17 years to wind up in the textbook.
To get cleared through everything.
Yeah, so we're studying antiquated history. Now information, the younger generation knows how to find information. And I think more and more people are awakening to a new understanding. And of course, we didn't have the understandings 10 or 15 years ago that we have now. Just in most areas of science, there's a quickening going in every area, and people are becoming very informed about it. So the information creates awareness creates consciousness has energy, and there's a different energy on the planet right now. And so old paradigms are falling away because people now can see from a different place.
Yeah.
So it's the way it is. I mean, people who are unhappy will try to make other people unhappy.
Yeah.
It's just what they do. People who are miserable to themselves will be miserable to others. People who constantly judge themselves will constantly judge others. People who are abusive to themselves will be abusive to others.
Right.
People who are happy with themselves.
Why do we do that?
Well, because we're back to the addiction. When you're happy with yourself, you're happy with others. When you love yourself, you love others. When you're grateful for who you are and what you've done, you're grateful with others.
You do it to people you love.
Well, yeah, because you know why? Because we're back to that knee-jerk chemical reaction that gives the arousal to the brain. People are not conscious they're doing that. They're just doing it because it's no different than dropping a little heroin, a little Valium into the bloodstream. Oh, there I go, I'm back. Which means, let's say you're addicted to anything.
Yeah.
What's going to happen? The addiction is when your body's become the mind. When you've taken something to change your internal state, right? And you rely on that outer thing to change your inner state. So now all of a sudden, let's say you're addicted to, I don't know, coffee or sugar or alcohol, whatever. And you said, today I'm going to stop having this sugar, this coffee. And you come into my office and I'm sitting there, I got a big cup of coffee there, I got a big sugar donut, I got powder all around my mouth. I say, hey, you want a little bit? If your body has been conditioned in that state, it will, listen to this, it will begin to talk to your mind. It'll say, come on, take a bite. What's wrong? It's just a little bite. You start tomorrow, he's having some. You would be assaulted with those thoughts. Your body's driving your mind. That's not your mind. You said 2 hours earlier you were gonna stop. So then if your body's doing that, then the next thing that happens is you start imaging. Your body starts automatically, physiologically starts to produce digestive juices, starts to salivate. It's already in the experience, right? And that's where the person has that tug of war, right? So then you break the addiction to coffee and sugar. You come into my office and I'm drinking a cup of Joe and I have a big donut. You would want it or not want it. So then what's the significance of that? Let's just say that you're antagonistic and you're bitter and you're judgmental. That's the person's personality, and they get a rush off of that. And all of a sudden they say, no more blaming, no more complaining, no more judgment, no talking trash about anyone, no more gossip.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop today.
Yeah.
Well, goes really well for the first 2 hours, and the body's going like, hey, you're off schedule. Usually check emails around 10 o'clock and judge everybody. You're just gonna stop that all of a sudden. So a person sits in their meditation now, listen to this. Every time they're sitting in their meditation, they're already in the habit of thinking and feeling that way. And so they're sitting there in meditation, the first 10 minutes goes by, and all of a sudden they start getting frustrated, they start getting impatient. They become aware that they're doing that. They don't quit, they stop. They return back to the present moment. They relax their body and unfold back into the moment. Guess what? That's a victory.
Yeah.
Then they say, the body wants to get up because it's been programmed to be busy and wants to move, and you become aware your body wants to do that. The person who's programmed like this on autopilot to do the same exact thing every day in routine, they've lost their free will to a program, and their body's dragging them into that future.
Yeah.
So now the body's so strong it's wanting to move. Hey, come back here. You keep returning it back to the present moment. That's another victory. You keep doing this like training an animal. The body is just going to realize it's no longer the mind. And in that moment, there'll be a liberation of energy. That's when the body finally surrenders, right? That's super important because that's a release of energy. And now, that's available energy for the person to heal with. That's available energy now they can use to design a new future. The body's literally letting go of the fear, letting go of the aggression, letting go of the anger, letting go of all those emotional states. And so now, what's the significance of that? So now you lowered the volume to that emotion, return back to your life. Just like the sugar donut and coffee, you broke the addiction, you're gonna have no tug. There you are in front of your boss, in front of your ex, in front of your greatest adversary that threw you under the bus. And now you sit in the presence of them instead of automatically, physiologically returning into the old state. You've mastered that emotion, you broke the addiction. You'll see a part of you that you used to be, that you no longer are, and you'll no longer have an aversion, you'll just understand that person's suffering. Now that's freedom. That means you no longer belong to your past. Now you're free, you belong to the future, and people do that. And I've been doing this long enough to tell you that nobody changes until they change their energy.
Right.
When you change your energy, you change your life. It's the way it is. So when you stop using your enemy to reaffirm your addiction to hatred, when you stop using your best friend to reaffirm your addiction to suffering, when you stop using your Facebook to reaffirm your addiction to insecurity, when you stop that whole process and you start going inward and you're no longer relying on those outer things to create those emotions, and you start creating those inner emotional states, you start changing your energy. Now, whatever is no longer a vibrational match between you and that past, present reality is going to fall away.
Right.
They're just going to spiral out because you're no longer putting your attention on them. In other words, the stronger the emotion you feel with some problem in your life, the more you give it your attention. Where you place your attention is where you place your energy. You're giving your power away, your life force, your energy to heal to that person or that problem. Lower the volumes of that emotion, you take your attention off that person, you're calling energy back to you. And you're building your own electromagnetic field. We've seen the evidence of that in many events, because when people start overcoming themselves, the first day, not always, but the energy of the room will drop. Why? Because they're drawing from the field to build their own field. Now when they build their own field the next day and the fields start interfering with the people next to them, whoop, the energy in the room just keeps going up, right? So now there's no longer a vibrational match between you and your coworker, you and your job, you and your boss. Be prepared. Because that old known thing is going to fall away because you're no longer emotionally and energetically connected to it.
Right.
So then when you get in that state, it's not a time to try to put it back together. Because at the same time these things are unraveling and they're moving towards chaos, and chaos is just unpredictable order.
Right.
It's novelty, the newness of an experience that you can't predict is chaos. If you apply the formula, and all potentials in the quantum field exist as electromagnetic potentials. They are possibilities. So now you're going to combine a clear intention with an elevated emotion, the thought being the electrical charge, the feeling being the magnetic charge. You begin to open your heart. It begins to produce that broad field. You lay the thought of a new future into there. Now you're changing your energy. When they begin to synchronize coherently, your brain and heart, you got a strong Wi-Fi signal. Because now you're putting out a very laser coherent signal. When there's a synchronization between your energy and that potential that exists in the future, but it really exists in the present moment, because that's where they exist in the quantum. Now you start to see synchronicities in your life because you're synchronized to a future, and they come as opportunities. Wow, that was kind of cool. And those are breadcrumbs from the field, like keep going, you're on to something. So the problem is that people, they do it and then they get up and then they react in traffic, or they get frustrated and they start feeling the emotions.
Why are you talking about me?
They start feeling the emotions of their past, and you know what happens? They just disconnected from the energy of their future, and they're back to the energy of the past. Don't expect anything to change in your life. In fact, expect more reasons to be frustrated. But if you catch yourself, you take a breath, you get back into brain and heart coherence, you tune back in, well, you're not going to go unconscious.
That's a victory. Like as you said, that's a victory.
So then the key then is to be able to keep synchronizing to the point where it begins to become familiar. And the word meditation means to become familiar with. So now you're in a new familiar state of being, and people say, I'm really not doing anything. Of course you're doing the work. You're becoming familiar with a new set of thoughts, new set of intentions, a new set of emotions. Your heart's opening more, your immune system's up-regulating, your genes are up-regulating, your brain and heart are more coherent, your energy field is bigger, you feel connected more. All these things, you're changing programs. You start seeing those things taking place in your life. You're going to want to do this, right? It's not going to be effort. Now, your brain is a record of the past. It's an artifact of everything you learned and experienced to this moment. It's a memory bank of knowns that create your identity or personality. So then most people wake up in the morning, the first thing they do, they start thinking about their problems. Those are problems that are literally etched in their brain with certain people, certain things, certain objects, certain times and places. The moment they start remembering their past, they're thinking in the past. If you believe that your thoughts have something to do with your destiny,
Right.
you're going to create more of your past. In fact, 90% of the time. But here's the important part. When you're seeing that image, you're producing the same chemistry in your brain and your body as if the event was happening. So thoughts are the language of the brain, but feelings are the language of the body. The moment you start feeling unhappy, now your body's in the past. And how you think and how you feel creates your state of being. So most people start their entire day with their entire state of being in the past. Now they're in the familiar past, that's the known. They will crave the predictable future. That's more of the known. So they'll run
It's less effort?
just because they want to predict the feeling of everything to stay safe. The unknown is a scary place. So they run through a routine and a habit on autopilot, right? So then if you're not being defined by some vision of the future, you're left with the memories of your past, yes? If you're not in love with your future, that means you're more in love with your past, and you'll stop creating. So when a person gets truly focused, and athletes and performers like you understand this, you spend a certain amount of time when you close your eyes, you start mentally rehearsing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Every move, everything. And when you're truly present and truly focused, your brain does not know the difference between the actual experience in your life and what you're imagining inside of you. It's called mental rehearsal. An example, they took a group of people that never played the piano before. They divided them into two different categories. In one category, they said, we're going to teach you one-handed scales and chords. You come for 2 hours a day. You practice for 5 days. We'll scan your brain at the beginning. We'll scan your brain at the end. And we'll see if you're making any changes in your brain. So these people show up. They practice the scales and chords for 2 hours. At the end of 5 days, they have a whole new set of circuits on the opposite side of the brain. Nothing new there. You learn something new, you make connections, you get some instruction, get your body involved. You get your body involved, you enrich the experiences in your brain. You
So
repeat
learning to play the guitar is a good thing for
It's a great thing for your brain. You repeat it, you pay attention, new circuits in your brain. Take another group of people, and instead of them actually physically playing the scales and chords, have them close their eyes and play the scales and chords and mentally rehearse them. At the end of 5 days, they had the same amount of brain changes, same number of circuits in their brain, as if they were physically playing the piano. So now their brain looked like the experience has already happened. So you're priming your brain from the past. It's no longer a record of the past. Now it's a map to the future, and your body will begin to instruct your mind. Take a group of men, have them close their eyes, and rehearse doing bicep curls for an hour a day. An hour a day, Cleveland Clinic, an hour a day for 2 weeks. Stronger, harder, more intense. At the end of 2 weeks, 13.5% increase in muscle strength. Never lifted a weight. Now the body looks like it's been in the experience. Now listen.
Oh, so your muscles can't grow.
Well, they're stronger.
Okay.
Stronger, 13% stronger in 2 weeks, just by adding an emotional component.
Wow.
So now the body doesn't know the difference between the actual experience and what the person is imaging. Now, that's exactly how we begin to take a person from one state of being to another state of being. In fact, the more you mentally rehearse, the more you're changing your brain into the future. Your brain's remembering the future. And the stronger the emotion you feel when you do it, the more altered you feel inside of you, the more you pay attention to what you're imaging. And now you begin to remember your future. You're creating a long-term memory. Just like when you have a strong emotional event from your past, the stronger the emotion you feel, the more altered you feel inside of you, the more you narrow your focus on the cause. The brain takes a snapshot, and that's called a memory. And people think neurologically within the circuits of that past experience, and they feel chemically within the boundary of their emotions. And now that's their state of being. So do the same thing now, but instead of having being an outer event, use your brain and use your body, or use your coherent heart, coherent brain, and begin to combine a clear intention with an elevated emotion. And when you do that properly, the stronger the emotion you feel, the more you pay attention to the pictures, and now you're priming your brain and body into a future. You're changing your state of being. And now you keep doing that every day. You downregulate genes for disease, you upregulate genes for health. The person goes from being unhappy, impatient, frustrated, to being happy for no reason at all. Like they're no longer relying on anything out there.
It's your new pattern. It's your new routine.
State of being.
It's your new state of being. It's your new personal reality.
You keep doing it. I think you already know how to do this. And I think most of us at one point in our life has done something amazing, something really, really outstanding. And people, when they do that, they just get a vision of their future. They get clear on what they want. And then they start feeling the emotions. And so you're a passionate person. When you feel the emotion, then you're there. Then it's just a matter of skill. It's a matter of repetition, staying in that state, right? And then when it arrives, then you correct even more. You get even more refined. You're going to take that same type of intensity, that intensity that you love, and you are going to apply it inwardly now. And those people that are, well, we have a lot of doctors, CEOs, we have a lot of very successful people that come and they say, oh my God, I'm just doing what I already know how to do, but I'm doing it this way. I'm going to put the same intensity behind it because they have certain skills that they've developed from the sheer practice of being present. You can't not be present driving at that speed. You can't not be present and staying aware while you're doing it and coordinating your mind and body. I mean, there's a lot of things that go on. So, well, for example, when we do the walking meditation, you see a lot of people that are actors or athletes. Ooh, they do the walking meditation and they become that person because they leave the old person, and in 1 hour, the person has a new heart. Their heart condition's gone. They're not walking with their crutches. I mean, we see dramatic changes in 1 hour because they're not the same person that started. They're literally at the end of that walk, somebody else. Someone like you have that kind of passion, you would excel.